Hi Flosstube, it's McCleary, Texstylust. Welcome to my channel. Hi Flosstubies, it's Lori. How are you doing? Thank you for stopping by today. This is a channel about cross stitch and quilting and sometimes a few other things. Today we're going to have a little bit of cross stitch because I really haven't been stitching much. I have been doing some sewing, some piecing for quilts, and I'll show you that. And then today we're going to get started on a quilt kit parade. I'm not sure if we'll get all the way through the kits, if this might need to be a two-parter or not. We'll have to kind of see how it goes. But it's been about 3 weeks since my last Flosstube, and it feels like I didn't get a whole lot done, but I know I worked a lot on several things. I did do a girls get together with some of my stitchy friends. I did some sewing. My son who's here for the summer, for his first summer break from college, he just has a couple more quarters. His car broke down, so I've been doing some driving him back and forth to work, and then he's going to be going back to school after this weekend. I think today is his last day at work. And let's just get started, and I'll share what I've been working on. So the only thing that I've really stitched on is from Pinker and Pumpkin Quilting, and here is the chart, and I'll kind of zoom it in there so you can see what it looks like. It's really cute. It's terribly autumn, which I really love. I've been wanting to do this for quite a while, and I did get started on it. I'm doing this on a 40 count baked clay by Fox and Rabbit. And what I do with her charts, I love her charts. And if you are not familiar with Melissa, her name is Melissa Vandergriff at Pinker and Pumpkin. Let me just hold this up because I think it has her information. She has just a ton of free charts. She has a lot of salt boxes. She has a lot of other cute stuff. She does quilting, she does decorating, and her blog spot is just a joy to read. So what I like to do is I pull her colors, and then I pull Fancy Floss if I think Fancy Floss will add to the design, and that's what I've did here. And I have the 1803, and I've just started on the house. So some of this is DMC, some of this is Fancy Floss, and here is the DMC ring. And what I've done is I did change out the green. I used her color choice, and then I pulled a Fancy Floss, and I think I used Weeks Moss. And then for the house, which is a DMC 301, I picked a Valdani, which I think is a dark Adobe or something like that. If you're interested in the color conversion that I've done so far, just shoot me a comment down below. And it's turning out really cute. It's going to be really adorable. I don't have a lot of smalls for fall, and this is one of them that I showed that I really wanted to work on. So I did get that done. I talked a little bit about, that's it for the cross stitch. I talked a little bit about wanting to do a table topper for fall, and I did get that put together. It took me all of maybe, I don't know, half an hour, more time to cut it out than it did to actually stitch it. And this is really all that you need to see. So the main part of the table topper quilt is this toile, this pumpkin toile, and this is the edge. And so I got that all put on. And it's not going to go all the way around. The toile only goes on the side, so this will just be an even side. And I'd hoped to get it quilted before I did this floss too, but it just did not happen. But I will probably have it quilted before the next floss too, so you can see how that looks. You can kind of see. It did turn out how I envisioned it, so I'm pretty pleased so far. I'm debating about making this a double-sided quilt, and I will show you a little bit later in the quilt kit parade what I'm thinking about. I haven't really made up my mind yet if I'm going to do that. So I sewed on that. The other thing I spent some time working on was cutting out and working on the blocks that I just dropped on the floor of this quilt. I'm just going to show you a few of the blocks. These blocks go together to make a star, and I don't have the pattern right in front of me, so I'm going to put a picture of like what I have up on my design wall up here so you can kind of see how those blocks go together. So I have those all sewed together, and I'm starting to lay it out, and hope to have that done also before the next floss tube. Another thing that happened is a group of us, a smaller group of our Stitchy group on Tuesday, met at one of our ladies' houses. Her name is Linda, and she is Quilts and Crosses on Instagram. I'll put her information down below. You definitely want to go check out her Instagram. But she invited us over to learn how to make fobs. So she used to do jewelry, and we were talking one day at Stitch Group, and she said that she'd really like to get us together and show us how to do this. So I learned how to make fobs from start to finish. So I learned about doing the wire and doing crimp beads and all these sorts of things. I think I need to put something up behind this so you can really get the true, here, this will work, the true beauty of this. She said she bought a couple of these bead sets for me because she knew my colors, and it's just lovely. I had such a good time. It's now going to be another rabbit hole. I have tons of beads. I have a lot of the findings. I don't have all of the tools, and I don't have things like some jump rings and crimp beads and things like that. But now that I know what I'm doing, sort of, I'm going to go ahead and pick up some more supplies so I can play more with these. So we made these. I made this one, and then I started on another one, but I didn't get it quite finished. And so that was one version. And then she also started showing us how to make ones. Again, I'm just going to hold this up, and this one's not finished. How to use a chain and how to build. So this was a bead that she already had, and then I kind of built on that and did a little thing at the bottom, and I need to fill it in. Showed us how to do that. So I have another one in the works. And yes, I did need another crafty hobby, of course. And then after that, we all made pumpkins. And if you look back on my Instagram, you can see the pumpkins we made. This is the one that I made. So this is now a third way of making pumpkins that I've tried. She had some wood cut for us and some greenery that we just cut apart and put together. And it's just adorable and had such a wonderful day. It was really great. So worked on that, made that cute little pumpkin. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you was that I won a giveaway. I don't generally participate in giveaways. I do every once in a while. And this was one, probably the first one in a couple of years that I put my name in the hat for. And it's for Felicia of Mouse Potato Designs. If you don't watch her Flosstube, you really need to go check it out. She is so bubbly and enthusiastic and quirky, and I hope that's okay, Felicia. It's a good thing that I say that. But she had this wonderful giveaway from Puntini, and it's amazing. If you don't already follow Felicia, I'm just going to show you. This is part of what she sent me. And this has her information right here. And right now, I've been following her closely because she has been collecting cabinets to store things in. So she's like totally redoing her house. And instead of general cabinetry, she's getting I would call it, I think it's more of a Queen Anne style. I could be wrong on that, but the top of the cabinets are like what you would see in Beauty and the Beast. And in fact, she mentions that, I think. And she's storing her patterns and her scrapping and her floss and all of this and all of these different cabinets. And it's really wonderful to watch. And it caught my eye because at the same time, I've been collecting or trying to collect hutches. Now, my hutch style is different than Felicia's, but it's kind of the same premise where she's going to take them and paint them all the same color, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. But anyway, I digress. So I won the giveaway, and the giveaway was from Puttini, and it included several charts, and these were the charts that I won. It was a whole package. Isn't that pretty? I love that one. So I think it has all of the seasons plus the Biscornus. So I won all of these charts. And then, oh my gosh, look at this. All of these pens. Do I have them? Nope, I don't even have them right side up. Here we go. All of these pens. Look at those colors. It's like they were made for me. They're so cute. And then included on that was some floss and a bunch of buttons. And they correspond with the ones here. And it's just, I was so excited when I won. Anyway, I just thought I would share that with you. So that was some happy mail that came recently. And I think the only other thing to share with you, I had some happy mail that is not stitch related, but it is decor related. So years ago, I started collecting some dishes, and I don't remember exactly where I started collecting them from. It might have been from a grocery store. I think it was from a grocery store. I think it was from Safeway. And, you know, it was one of those things where if you spent so much money, then you could buy the plates or the bowls or something of that at a discounted rate. So I had a small collection, and I called it my autumn collection. I would bring it out every autumn, and I haven't really did it since I moved. So, or actually even the year before I moved, because I was kind of in transition. I was packing that fall. So it was kind of exciting to get these dishes out, but I didn't have enough plates. And so I was so surprised, but I found a set of plates on eBay at a very reasonable price, probably about the same that I paid 15 years ago or whenever I started buying these. But I got them in the mail, and they're happy mail, and I will show you and you'll see why I was so excited to get them. Okay, so these are the plates. You can see why this has Lori written all over it. It definitely fits in with my decor. So I think it had another name originally, but these are called the Octavia Hill Collection, and I don't have my glasses on. The designer is Tracy. You still can find some pieces and some plates online. I have a pitcher, I have a bowl, I have this teacup set. I'm not going to bring out all the pieces. I'll throw a picture up here in just a minute of the different pieces I have. But here's the teacup. So there's the little hot water. There is the cup. And I think the original name was Blackberry something. I remember reading that somewhere, and I'm not sure exactly where I read that, but see, it's got a little blackberry on it. Changing out the dishes was like the passage of summer to fall for me, and I always loved putting away my summer dishes and getting out my fall dishes, and it really felt that was the beginning of fall. So it was really fun to get these out. I was very excited to get enough plates so that I can use these when I have friends over and stuff. I only had 4 plates, so now I have more. Unfortunately, one of them broke in my move, so I may need to look for a couple more, but I really love these. So that was my other happy mail. I know not stitch related, but to me, everything that I do with my stitching and my quilting, etc., and the decorating kind of all goes with this. And that's it for my stitchy update and my happy mail and all of that. So the rest of the video is going to be my quilt kits. And as I mentioned, I'm not sure if I'll get through all of them in one video. It might take more. And I know quilting, not all of you who watch me are quilters, but I hope you'll stick around because there's some pretty cool stuff here, and it was really great to kind of get all of them out and sort through them and go through them and remind myself, you know, why I bought them, what I intended them for. I'm much more deliberate now on the fabric and the quilts that I'm planning to do specifically for decorating where I currently live. Some of these, when I first started quilting, just like when I first started cross stitching, you buy all the pretty things. So there's some that I'm not sure either that I'm going to keep. I may sell the kit or what, but it's really, for me, it's kind of a journey of, you know, what I was planning and thinking and doing for probably, oh gosh, the last 25, maybe even 30 years. So hope you'll stick around just to see. It's kind of fun. And I think you'll kind of see a theme of how they fit in with my cross stitching and everything else. So without further ado, let's get started. I don't have them grouped together by theme or anything else. Basically, excuse me, I have them stashed in containers, and I brought most of them into the small studio here, so I have them in front of me and I can remember what I have. And a lot of them I bought in the last 3 years, and some of them are very old. So we're going to have some fun with this. I have some small ones here that I will start with. Now, some of these are things I've kitted up, and some of these are things that I've bought as kits. And if I haven't started them, then I can just consider them a quilt kit. Now I have a ton of fabric that I do have things intended for, but if I don't have them grouped together with the pattern, etc., then I'm not going to include that in this video. So the first one is a tiny quilt. It looks like, I got to get the spectacles on. This is called Evening Star. It's 25 by 25, and this is kind of back in the day when charm packs and actually just pre-cuts first came out. So this is 2007 when this came out, and I have that. And these are the actual called for motifs. Now you can tell how old it is. Look at the price on that, $6. They're not $6 anymore, are they? So it calls for 2 charm packs. I have all of those, and that is a quilt that I planned. It's one that still fits into my decor, and I think it's just darling. So that's a kit. Probably near the same time period, maybe a little bit later, 2006. So it's the same time period. Moda started doing these little 10 box series. So this is one by Kathy Schmitz. The contents of this little tin, and it's a beautiful tin, has the fabric, which are, of course, the charm squares. And it also has a CD that has the instructions. Even though the instructions are here, it has a CD. You know, there might be more in there that I'm not aware of because I haven't really pulled it out. There's also 8 bonus squares in this. I bought this, I think, when I worked at a quilt store, so it's quite a while ago. I think just sitting in the tin is beautiful, but I can't wait to do that because it is so pretty. It is such a beautiful little tiny Christmas quilt, and I think it's a mini quilt. It's 12 3/4 by 12 3/4. Oh, so the CD says that it includes a color swatch library of the entire collection of this fabric and measurements for a larger quilt and recipes. Ooh, I think I need to take that out and just check that out. So there's a couple of small ones, and I think what I'm going to do, I have a bunch of kits stacked in here, and I really did not want to pull everything out and then have to put it back. So I am going to grab the camera and try to pull things out. I'm not sure if that's going to work. Pull things out and show you. You know what? I think that's not going to work. So I'm just going to pull things and put them back. The first one I'm going to show you. So I've been so excited watching Olivia, Ginger, and Katie of So Tattered. They have been working with a line that I bought. I pre-ordered when it first came out from Pam Buddha. And the line is Cheddar and Coal 2. And I have this kit. And you know what? Let me take it out of here so you can see the pattern. I've been watching them put together their quilt, and I really wanted to pull this out and start it, but I have 3 other quilts that I've been working on that I want to get done first. So I just watch them. So the pattern that I'm going to use the Cheddar and Coal is called Spellbound. It's by Pam Buddha, and she is Heart Spun Quilts. And it does use all of the colors. So let's see if I can take these out without totally undoing. This quilt will probably go in the prim room, and it is 70 by 79, so a twin size. Sorry for all of the crinkling, but here are the colors. So there's the darks. Here are, whoops, got to do it this way. Here are the oranges, the burnt oranges, and then the neutrals. So I think if I laid this all out, it would be really pretty, kind of the way they packaged it. But, so I have that quilt, and then I bought this one for the backing for this quilt. And she also, Pam Buddha, she also has a set of 3. She does a lot of miniature quilts. She has a set of 3 quilts. And if I can find a picture, I will put it up here, that I'm hoping there will be enough left over of this fabric to do those small mini quilts. The next set of quilt kits come from Country Sampler, and they are for, this one is for the Grand Old Tree, and it's actually a table runner. And this is the fat quarter bundle that I have to make that. And these are some of the extras. Actually, I think these go to a different quilt kit. Yeah, they do. They go with this one. And when this first came out, it's like, ooh, I have to have that. And so I did wait until I visited Country Sampler, because this quilt is smaller than I wanted. I wanted something that would fit my queen size bed. This is going to go in my bedroom. So while I was there, I bought the book, and I sat down for an hour or so and figured out the extra fabric that I needed to make this into a queen size. So basically I need 3 across, and I don't remember if it's 4 down or 3. I don't remember, but I bought extra fabric because they did have it kitted. And so I bought the kit, and then I bought extra fabric. Also in this book are some really beautiful Cantha stitched pillows that are in there. And this is from her Traveler line, which is the same as what I just showed you here. This is the Traveler line. So this is for the table runner. And then this is going to be more challenging than I thought to pull all these out to show you these kits. But they package it so beautifully. And so this is the main kit. And then I bought the extra fabric that I needed to do the rest of the quilt. On the same trip where I bought that kit, actually both of those kits, I also bought this kit, and this is called Sleepy Hollow. Got the ant catcher sampler. I think they still have it. These are the fabrics that it uses. So it's kind of a combination between some Diamond Textiles and Tim Holtz. It's a very unique quilt, and I kept looking at it and kept looking at it. And it's like, if I've looked at it that many times, I think I really need to make it. So there's that one. That was the trip where I was so worried about my suitcase being overweight, and it was exactly 50 pounds. I think I bought 4 quilt kits that trip. If you've watched me for any length of time, you know that I'm a huge Jo Martin fan. So the next 2 kits I'm going to show you. One of them Olivia has made, and this is the last line that Jo Martin, no, it's not, it's the second to the last line that she distributed through Moda. And this kit is Rose, or actually the fabric is called Rose. I think the kit or the quilt is called, let me open it up here, Block Bonanza. So this is the quilt, Block Bonanza. So I have the kit for that when I get to the point where I'm ready to start that one. And then the other one, and I love these boxes. They're so beautiful. The other one was one that I had loved from the minute it came out, and I didn't buy the kit, and I kicked myself for, a good 4 or 5 years that I didn't buy it. And then I was looking for something else, and it popped up. Actually, I guess it wasn't that long because this came out in 2020. It popped up in a shop that I was looking at something else, and I immediately bought it because you could not find them. And this is Lancaster. Isn't that gorgeous? So this is another quilt kit that I have. This one's 72 by 72. And Block Bonanza, I believe, is bigger than that. Oh, these are heavy. Oh, no, this is 70 by 70. So they're roughly the same size. So there's a couple by Jo Martin. I have many others by Jo Martin, but these are the box kits that I have. And I have a bunch that I may show you in the Quilt WIP Parade. And I'm looking through here. We may come across a couple others. And I have those up here on top of my cherry cabinet. I will try to not make you sick with a lot of my Jo Martin. There's also some Kim Deal and maybe some Stacy West up there. That's not all of it, but that's all. I'm going through my tubs right now, and that's what I have pulled out. Okay, so what's next? Let's talk about, this actually is some recent purchases as well. So last video I showed you 3 quilts that I was working on for the cottage bedroom. And I was thinking about, because planning is the favorite part for me, I was thinking about, well, what am I going to do in the French General bedroom? French General itself doesn't really have anything that's kind of fallish Halloween. But I was thinking, kind of rolling that around in the back of my mind. And then I was watching something that some J. Wecker Fresh popped up, and it's like, perfect. I can do a Queen of Ween with the French General, and I think it will go really well. So I purchased, and I needed 3. So I have 2 of the panels that I'm looking for. The last panel that I'm looking for is actually quite old, and I found a couple of them, but they're kind of pricey. But just to kind of give you an idea, so the French General bedroom has French mahogany beds, and then it has French ticking and florals in it. And I'm not really going to make big quilts for that room. What I'm going to do is leave the floral and the ticking there, and then I'm going to make these smaller panel quilts and just lay them across the top. And I think that will be perfect. I think I might also put some other black filigree Victorian crows, that sort of thing, and they're just kind of tie it all together. But I'm super excited about this. I don't know that I will get to it this year, but I have the plan. So if you haven't seen this line, it's one of her latest lines. It's called Queen of Ween. And I'm just going to show this panel to you. So a lot of her things are stitch related or sewing related. And so I will do this panel and I will put some sort of border around it, and then it will just lay on top of the already existing bed. So here's one. There's 3 beds in there. The next one is actually Mother Goose, and I think this was a couple 3 years ago. Let's see, is there a date on here? 2019. They're all ladies, and the other one is a sewing related one, but it goes really well with this. And so here is, this is actually Mother Goose, but I think she looks witchy with her hat and her pumpkin colored skirt. And I'm really super excited about doing these. I think it's gonna look really, really cute. Here's some panels that go with them. So I might make pillows. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, but they're very cute. Very steampunk, Victorian, just the perfect colors to add a touch of the season into that room. Let's see, do I have, yeah, I have quite a stack of her stuff. I've always loved it since she first came out with it. And it's very whimsical. It's right down my alley of, and this is more Halloween related. So that's something that's kitted up. Also for that room, I have this pattern. I think I've showed it recently. This is a Laura Heine pattern, and I have all of the fabrics. These are Tim Holtz fabrics. To make this as well. Again, it's a future quilt. It's probably going to go into that room along with these. I think that they'll go well. This was another panel I bought at the same time. It's not intended to be part of that grouping because I really like the other panel. But here's another one that was also, this is Old Maid. I think this was a couple of years ago as well, or maybe last year. Old Maid quilting cards. Oh, that's right. This one was deck of cards related. So there's some quilts that I'm planning on working on, and they will go in one of the retreat bedrooms. Another one. So I showed you, as I said last video, 3 Halloween quilts. They're fig tree fabric, so they're very light and bright, and they're to go with Brenda Gervais and Paulette Stewart type of coloring for Halloween. But I've also been planning and pulling patterns and fabrics and kitting them up for things like spring and summer and Christmas. So I don't have all of those, but I do have this one that I would like to show you. And here is a fat quarter bundle that I picked up in Amana. I think I showed it recently as well because it was a fairly recent purchase this summer or spring. And here's some others that have the teals. Again, I think these are going to go beautifully with the Brenda Gervais, Paulette Stewart cottage bedroom. And here is one of the patterns. This is by the Pattern Basket. I have several of her patterns. The wonderful thing about, I think there's Margot Lang, I can't pronounce her last name. It's French. There it is. One of the great things about the Pattern Basket patterns is she uses pre-cuts. So layer cakes, fat quarters, charms, etc. And they're broken down so that you can very efficiently use those types of pre-cuts. This pattern came out in 2017 and it's called Feathers. This is one of 2 bird patterns I have of hers. The other one I have are cardinals that will probably be used more for the Christmas time. But again, very light and bright, they go well with those fabrics, and then those fabrics go well with the stitches that I do plan on putting in that cottage bedroom. Although this isn't a quilt, it's actually, it's a hat. This is a kit that I got from Crabapple Hill, but I think it will go really cute with those panels that I was just showing you. So I have that kitted up. I will probably do a wool kit parade at some time, but I can't fit it all together in here. But as I was pulling things out, I did come across that and I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, we're getting into the realm of a drawer that I have, and these are quite a bit older quilts. I've worked at a couple of different quilt stores over the years, and of course, you know, you have to take advantage of your discount. Plus, you always know when things are going to go on sale, and you can nab them first. This one is a Jason Yenter. This is from 2009. The quilt is called Splendor, and these are the fabrics. It's a very beautiful quilt, very pretty colors. I am not sure. I'm kind of going through all of my kits. Look at those, aren't those gorgeous? And deciding whether they're going to fit into my decor or not. This one definitely fits into my decor. So I'm going to go through my kits, and at some point in the future, I may do a stash and load. And if that's something you think you'd be interested in, I could do a stash and load first through video, and then if something didn't sell for that, then I can do it through one of the normal Facebook group channels. But if that's something you think you'd be interested in watching and are purchasing from, let me know. You're kind of getting a preview of things that may or may not go into that stash unload. This one's on the fence. I really like it. It looks like a fairly easy quilt to put together, and I don't see the dimensions on it, so we'll worry about that when the time comes. The next one, some of these I will take out and some of them I won't. This one is called Crown of Roses. It's a very beautiful quilt. Very beautiful colors. This looks a lot like Lisa. There's the colors. And this one's 56 by 70.5. And I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that this is Three Sisters fabric. This is kind of the main fabric. One of the main, there's also a beige that has a lot of roses. It looks like it's Three Sisters to me. I don't know how old this one is. It's that one, it's been a while. It's probably in the early 2010s or so. This one, I've seen this made up, and the picture here does not do it justice. And it's called Manzanita, and it's like a wall hanging art quilt. And you may not be able to tell, but there's beading on it, and I have the beads as well. And this is very pretty. This may or may not go into the stash and load. I'm not sure. The next one up is called Christmas Star Power. And I think, I'm not quite sure whose fabric that is. It kind of looks like a Holly Taylor. Very, very my colors, very Christmassy. Let's see if we can open up we can get, yeah, it really does look like a Holly Taylor. So beautiful tans and Christmas reds and nice olivey, sagey greens. So there's another cut. This one is definitely in my prim style. I think this would look darling hanging in the prim room. This one's called Harriet's Harvest by Quilt Patch Lane. And there's the fabrics. And I, just looking at it, it looks like it's a combination of maybe some Kansas Trebles, maybe a couple, 3 other lines. So it's very scrappy. It looks like the quilt store probably made that kit up. The next one, I love this, and I can't wait to use scraps from this quilt. I'm going to show you a picture. Again, the picture is not even close to showing you how beautiful this quilt is. It's a Tim Holtz quilt, and it's called Variable Stars. So it's Tim Holtz fabric. I don't know that he did the pattern, but this is what it looks like. It has this beautiful red striped border. And here is, oh, this kit is heavy. Here is the kit. So it has his, is it Elements? Yeah, Eclectic Elements line in here. This is one I've been wanting to get to for quite a while, and the scraps are going to be amazing. I mean, anything that I use to make with the scraps left over from this quilt is going to be so cool. I purchased this several years ago. Most of these that I'm showing you, I'll tell you that they're old, and I don't know that you can still get the kits, but you can try. This one is called It's Good to Be Square. It's by the Quilter's Dream. This is the same designer that designed the Painted Hills, although she didn't call it that. I called it the Painted Hills. I think it's called Serendipity or something, or Serenity, something like that. If you go back a couple of videos, you'll see that. But it's when batiks first really kind of hit it big in the market, and they were always, there was 3 or 4 booths always at the Puyallup Quilt Expo or the Sew Expo, and you know, you see it. I've seen these made up, so I know how pretty they are. But here is a kit. I'm no longer a blue and brown person. I think I originally purchased this to make a quilt for my son. It probably would still go to him if I decided to keep this kit. And it is kitted up in those beautiful blues and browns. It is batiks. Very pretty. So there's another kit. So I'm going to put these kits away so I can have some room to maneuver here. Oh, wait, I've got one more to show you. This is a fairly recent purchase. I purchased it last year. This is a Primitive Gatherings. It's one of the few things that I did buy when we stopped there last year. And it's called Peppermint Lane. And it's really cute. Those are tiny, tiny squares. And it has wool, dyed wool to go with that. But it's basically a beautiful cream and red. And this is from Primitive Gatherings. I'm positive you can still get this one. It's fairly new. And the table runner is 10.5 by 33. So Lisa Bonjean, Primitive Gatherings. The next kit I have is called A Chance of Flurries, and it's a Kansas Trebles. And it's a Christmas quilt. And I bought this one here in Central Oregon at a quilt shop that unfortunately is now out of business. And it uses Kansas trebles, and it calls for a jelly roll. And I think this line, what's it called? Kansas Winter. So it calls for that jelly roll. And then I also have the borders, backing, and binding in here. So I have that one. Next up is a Quiltworks. If you're not familiar with Quiltworks, they're out of Montana, I believe. And it's all paper piece. And they are the most amazing quilts. I have several of these patterns. This one I actually bought as a kit. And I think it will go really well in my home. I'm probably going to do the table runner and 2 pillows, which I think, yeah, oh, actually has enough for 4 pillows and the table runner. And this is the pattern. Now, what I have in the kit is not quite those colors. They're a little bit darker and a little bit richer, but you can see it's going to fit in nicely. It's going to be beautiful for fall. And the name of this one is Rocky Mountain Bear Claw. And I think she has this also for a large quilt, but I think that is so cool. So it's a take off of a bear paw block, which happens to be my favorite block, and this is called the Bear Claw. So I have this kit. These take some time to do those. I have one in my WIP pile that is called Cattails, and they take some time, but they're so beautiful when they're done. Maybe one day I'll kind of go through a lot of my patterns, and we can look at some of the quilt works, and I'm pretty sure this one is still available. Okay, the next one is a quilt that I've kitted up and pulled fabric for myself, and I have a black and white copy here. This is out of one of the original Quilt Manias, issue number 46. It's called Fa La La, and this is the black and white picture that I just have in with what I've kitted up. I will find a color copy and I will put it up here so you can see what it looks like. And these are the colors that I have chosen. Isn't that gorgeous? For this quilt. So basically it just, you know, the pattern, because it's in a magazine, if you look closely at that one, it's got snowflakes on it. It gives you, you know, how many reds you need. Here's my reds. In fact, I think that's the rest of what's in here. Here's the reds that I chose. So the reds, the creams, and then I love how this teal pulls the red and the cream together, and then these different variations of turquoise. So that is the kit for that quilt. Now I will tell you, there's a couple ladies in my quilt group, the group that comes down in July for the quilt show, have made this, and they had a different name for it, and it wasn't very complimentary. Now, the quilt is beautiful, and I think it was just because it was a challenging quilt. This is all applique. And you can see there's a lot of applique to do. And I think the instructions weren't quite as clear as maybe they could have been. But it's a beautiful quilt. I've seen it made up. Definitely on my list. I'm not sure if this will go in one of the bedrooms or if this will just be one that I hang up in the main part of the house. This is another quilt that I bought the kit for years ago, and there used to be a quilt store that was in a antique vintage, a very old church in Tacoma, Washington, and I don't remember the name. Is it on here? It is not on here. I don't remember the name of the quilt store. It's long gone. But this one's called Versailles Border Quilt. It's actually just a strippy quilt. By strippy, I mean that that's the quilt layout. So this stripe goes in between those pieces, and then this is the fabrics that go with that. This one may or may not end up in my kits that I may stash unload. I'm not sure. I love all of these. I love all of them, but you know, at some point there's so many new ones coming out that I want to work on, and you kind of have to decide, you know, where you're going to spend your time. So I may give them up for someone else to stitch, or I may keep them. I don't know. So that was called Versailles Border Strip. The next one I have is using the fabric called Shangri-La, and it's a Three Sisters. And again, this is a very poor picture of this quilt, but it's one that should go together pretty quickly. I have the background and an accent fabric, and then it uses this jelly roll. So these are the colors. It's really, really pretty. It used to hang in the shop that was called Bayside in Olympia. And it was back when jelly rolls were like $25. So that's how old it is. This is at 80 by 96. So this will work nicely in one of the bedrooms. I think this would look great in, actually it would look great in a couple of the bedrooms. So that one's definitely a keeper. It should go together pretty quick. I believe that this was a free download. I'm not sure if these are still available. It's a Moda. So again, it's called State of Grace. And you don't need to use that jelly roll. You need a jelly roll that has at least 40. So that one might bump up closer to the front of the list. So that one's called State of Grace. I don't know if you're aware, but many of the fabric companies, Moda, Free Spirit, all of them, if you go to their main website, they're going to have a ton of links to free patterns, and many of them are very, very pretty. In fact, if you go to the Free Spirit website, you might find one that has a name that you recognize. So it's been a while, but I did do a couple of quilts for Free Spirit's part of Coats and Clark. And I had the opportunity to design a quilt for Market one year for their solid lines. So you can go and look and see if you can find it. The next one up is a quilt that I didn't design it, but what I did is I had found this picture of an arts and crafts print, and I was looking at it and I thought, oh, that's going to make a gorgeous quilt. So what I did is I took the print and I enlarged it. Here's actually what the print looks like. Now, purples are not my thing. These are more of eggplant, etc. But we had just gotten in a line. I was working at a quilt store at the time. We had just gotten in a line of, I think it's called American something. They're solids, and they're made, or at least they were made at the time in Seattle, Washington. And they fit just perfectly. So this will be enlarged, and it will be an applique quilt. And here is the color way that I pulled for that quilt. Can you see it? Think it will work? I think it will be beautiful. So, and I think it will work well in my current home. I did this many, many years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So there's another quilt. This one I'm almost positive is going to go up on Stash and Load, but it's really, really cute. And it's called Log Cabin Retreat. And it's a panel. And this was a free download that I think you could get with the panel. So it goes together quite quickly. And I have all of the fabrics for that. So this is what the panel looks like. And it has really cute pine cones and acorns and everything. And I don't know, I go back and forth on these. It would look really cute in the house here. I just don't know if I'm going to get, if it's going to make it to the list of things that I know I really want to work on. What you're seeing is 25 or 30 years of longing and planning and kidding and stuff, and now I just need to decide what I'm really actually going to work on. I didn't used to buy panels. I always thought they were kind of cool looking, but I mean, I have several of them from like the 90s, maybe even the late 80s, that were more craft related, where you would make like a Santa or a snowman, or my mom did some that were cows that were so cute. And she did, my son's room, his nursery was Noah's Ark, and she did these Noah's Ark animals that were big. I mean, they were probably anywhere from 16 to 20 inches. And they were adorable. But for quilting, I always thought they were cool, but, you know, originally it kind of felt like cheating, and I never really bought them until we had a demonstration at my guild in Washington, in Olympia. And one of the quilters there, she brought in, I don't know how many quilts, maybe 20, that we were all started with a panel of some sort. And she showed how she built around the panel, and they were so pretty. They were just fantastic. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. The other thing is that I was told, and I think I've shared this before, when I first started long arming, one of my mentors said, get a panel. Just get a panel and just follow the lines, follow the picture, just stitch all over it. And first of all, it kind of loosens you up and you get to try a bunch of techniques. And it was just a really good way to kind of start, and came out with some really good product. So this is actually moving faster than I thought it would, so we might get through all of these. The next one, I keep these all in a variety of different containers. Some of them are in a cabinet where they're kind of already, kitted up like this, and I really haven't taken them out because they don't fit in a general container. But most of my quilts are in containers like this, and I have labeled them. And so now I know kind of what's in each one without having to pull it out. This one is called the Lawn Star. And this was a display, so maybe 2019 quilt show, might have been later. Jen Kingwell has been to several of the quilt shows here in Sisters. And she was like a featured teacher, and she did a demonstration. She kind of showed all of her quilts. The name of what she did escapes me, but anyway, she had this quilt was hanging, and I just loved it. Now, this is not normally in my wheelhouse. This is not something I would normally do. It's not really a light and bright. I can only describe these as something that you would see either in Australia or New Zealand, because the colors are different, the color schemes are different, the patterning is different, but I just love it. It's really pretty. So I bought the book for this, and this is just my working copy of that particular one. And then I bought several of her fabrics. This is a fat quarter bundle. I think I got 2. And yes, you can see these are not my colors normally, but I think this is going to be beautiful. And then I bought this is just a strip roll that the local quilt store, which is called the Stitching Post, that they put together. So basically you're mixing patterns and batiks, and I think that will be really, really pretty. So that's something that I kitted up, and it's called Lawn Star. And the book that it's from is called Jenny from One Block. The next one is a block of the month from Kim Deal, and it's called Humble and Heartfelt. And I think this is from 2 years ago. I'm not positive. I think this is one of my first purchases after I got out of treatment. So the stitch along, here's, I don't want to show all of it. I can show a little bit of it. This is the stitch along. That's what the quilt looks like. Let me see if I can find a better picture of the entire quilt. So every month you would get, here we go. Every month you would get a block. And I think it was either a 9-month or a 12-month. And there's what the quilt looks like. If I can find a picture of it completely made, then I will put one up here. And here is the fabric. And they were so cute. So this is the backing that I chose. And every month they would come in these darling little sacks that were gingham. And they were wonderful. They were all labeled about what you were going to use it for, which block, etc. So that's one that I need to get started on along with everything else. It doesn't have a very specific place where it's going to go. It's just going to be a pretty quilt. And again, this is Kim Deal, Humble and Heartfelt. Oops, I need to fit that back in. The next couple you'll probably recognize because these were kitted up by Michelle, Farm Girl. And I haven't made them yet, but these were a couple of her first kits that she did. And this is a buttermilk basin pattern. And then Michelle picked out the fabric and the wool. This is a wool applique. This is really cute. This is like 30 by 30, so it's not a very large quilt. And the other one is, oh gosh, what's it called? Again, I don't have my spectacles on. This was called Fall Pumpkin Quilt. It's 22.5 by 25.5. Again, Michelle picked out the fabrics. Love those fabrics. And the wool. Also in this container is apple baskets. Let's see. So there's a quilt shop. I may not be able to get it all the way out of here. There's a quilt shop in Kelowna, Iowa, which is about half hour, 45 minutes away from Amana. So Lisa and I have been there a couple times. When we go to Amana, we go check out the shop, and they have a ton of kits. It's the coolest shop. So they do a lot of Kim Deal, they do a lot of Joe Morton, and those type of designers. And they have, the entire shop is just covered in those quilts. And then you can go to Ben's and they have them all kitted up. So this is a Kim Deal, and I'm sorry I can't show you a better picture, but that's the top of the quilt. It's a small one. It's called Apple Baskets. It's from the Simple Wet Knots Club number 8. And it's a 17 by 17 quilt. And those are the fabrics. You can see why I picked that. And so that's one that I got from there. I actually have gotten several from them. This is another one. Oh, it's called Willow Creek Quilting and Gifts. And it's from Kelowna, Iowa. And I'm just going to put that up there so you can see the information. This one is called The Keeping Room. Oh, and they're very reasonable. The other thing, super reasonable. This one includes the pattern. They both include the pattern. And these are Kim Deal fabrics. And this is a representation of that quilt. It's called The Keeping Room. It is hard not to go totally crazy in that shop. I don't know if they have a really good online presence. I don't know if you can tell what quilts or what kits they have. You might have to go check that out. This one is from Debbie's Quilt Shop in Osage, Iowa. So we had a girls' weekend in Osage 2021. Maybe that's when it was. And this quilt was hanging up, and I was looking at it. I was standing at the register checking out, and I was looking at the quilt, and the quilt itself looked like it had been hanging quite a while, and it was a little bit faded because the colors were a little off. And what it is the Liberty Star banner. Now you can't really tell there, but the colors are very different. So they're more this turquoisey, greenish blue, and then these reds. This is all Kim Deal fabric. This is a Kim Deal pattern. And it was so pretty and so unique. A different twist on a traditional red, white, and blue. So it's like, I think I really need that. So they had to go upstairs and search for one. And they brought down 2. So Lisa got it too. And then when we went back to the girls where we were stitching, Michelle saw this and she says, oh, I need to get that too. And I think she's actually finished hers. There's a lot of tiny piecing in there. I haven't got to mine every Memorial Day. I look at it and think I need to get it out and need to get it done, but I just haven't got it done yet. I believe that this was a free pattern. I don't know if it is still. Maybe you can look for that with your phone. Kim Deal designs through Henry Glass, so you might be able to still find that. You might call Debbie's Quilt Shop and see if they still have the patterns. I'm not sure, so it's been a couple years, but you can check. So that's that. These are all fairly small quilts, and I was able to get them in one container. And the next one, these are also miscellaneous small quilts. This one came from the Little Red Hen, so it is also a Kim Deal. They also do a lot of Kim Deal and Joe Morton kits. There's a lot of kits in that one, just like there is at the other shop I was telling you about. This, excuse me, this one's called Chicken Scratch Patch. And there's information also about the Little Red Hen. I just had an Instagram friend. I need a drink of water. I just had an Instagram friend reach out to me and say she was in the area and that she was headed home and she only had time to visit either the Little Red Hen or the Woolen Needle. Now, it's very tough. Of course, I want to see both of them. The Woolen Needle is a fantastic shop. I go there every time we are in Amana. The Little Red Hen, we've only visited twice, but it's definitely a destination shop you want to go to. They have everything. They have wool. They have fabric. They have their own designs. It's very well stocked, quite huge store. They've got kits. They have cross stitch. They've got it all. So I think she's deciding to go to Little Red Hen. I can't wait to see what she gets. But back to the kit. This is from Simple Wet Knots Club Collection 7, and it's called Chicken Scratch. And you can kind of see a little bit of the quilt. And it's a smaller one, 14.5 by 16.5. This comes from a quilt shop that used to be in Ording, Washington. It was one of my very favorite shops. It was called the Wild Rose. They had a complete upstairs that had, I don't know, 6 bedrooms, maybe 8 bedrooms. And they did a lot of retreats, and then it was a big common sewing area in the middle. And it's where I bought some of my retreat beds from. I bought them along with the bedding and everything when they went out of business. But they sold these, and I don't think I've seen them anywhere else, but they're called Mountain Patchwork. And they use a technique. I wonder if they give the name of the technique in here. I don't see it. You make the entire thing by hand, but basically you do your stitching, and it's a back stitch kind of. So you're piecing and stitching all at the same time. Is kind of hard to describe, but they kitted it with Kansas Trouble, which of course speaks to me. So I got several of these. This is one, and they came with the tiny buttons. These are actually quite old. I would say these are at least 20 years old, maybe even older. But it was the first time I had seen those tiny little buttons when I found these in their shop. Here's another one called Block a Garden. And let's see. Oh, there's a copyright on here. Is there a date? I don't see the date. I don't want to take everything out. That was also in Kansas Trouble. So, and these are teeny tiny quilts. They're like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 inch square. They're not very big. This one is very similar. This is from the Red Button Company. And this one, the kit has everything, including the backing and these itty bitty buttons. Look at those. This one I got in Osage in that cool shop. And this one, I saw that Michelle just made this, and I've had this in my stash for quite a while. It's called Tiny Dancer, and this is the black and white picture of that. But if you want to see this in color, I don't know if she's posted it through Instagram. It might be through her Patreon only. I'm not positive. But I bought this when it first came out. I think I was part of the block of the month and a block of the week. And we were able to order these at a discount when they first came out. So this is a 12 by 12. It's not very big. Teeny, teeny, tiny little stars. And then this one I picked up for $5 at my local Habitat. This kit, and you can tell it's very old, it's pretty dated, but I thought it was so cute. And it's a Santa on the moon. I think I'll probably do more like that version. It's 23 by 27. Definitely my colors. Very prim. Look at the star fabric. Pick the whole thing up with the pattern and the button for $5. So I love going to the Habitats. I quite often find good deals like this. Now, they don't always speak to me. Some of them are very, very dated. There's a lot of patterns there that are the bunnies, and I still have those patterns myself, but a lot of bunnies and Daisy Kingdom and that sort of thing. I don't always get those, but I thought that one was really cute. And the last one, I think I got this a Habitat as well. And it's started. I didn't start it. I'm just considered a kit. It's a seasonal table runner. And this is what the table runner looks like. This is originally from the Stitching Post. And the person who had started it, here's all the fabric. And they had actually already fused and cut out all the different snowmen. And then here's some of the fabric that you use. Oh, this is pretty. So it's not just Christmas, there's fall stuff too. Isn't that cute? So I guess I really haven't explored this kit that much, but the whole thing was $2. $2. So there's that batch. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 containers over there, and then I think I have a bunch up here on this wall that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to pause here real quick. You won't notice a difference, but I need to put some things away, and I'll be right back. Okie dokie. The next one was a beautiful quilt they had hanging in my local quilt shop here, called the Stitching Post. Now you're going to have to use some imagination. Oh, actually there is a small picture in here. So I bought the kit. They had it hanging, the quilt hanging up in the shop. And this is what the original pattern was. Not really my cup of tea, but they had it made up in Edita Sitar, which is laundry basket quilts. They had it made up in Super Bloom. So the fabric, or the line is called Super Bloom. This is, as I said, this is the main fabric. And here are the accent fabrics. This is all Edita Sitar. And they called the quilt Wild Friends. And this is what it looks like. Now, it's a small picture and it really does not give it the depth that the quilt had, but it's very, very pretty. And I think it was one that they had on sale. It was, they were closing out the kits. So that's a kit that I have. And then the next one that's in this container, let me put that back in there so it doesn't get lost. These were, I don't have a pattern picked out for this, but I've got quite a few that would work. I had found this beautiful line, and this line is from several years ago. Yes, several years ago. I must have still been working at Ruby Street Quilt Works, but I loved this line. It was kind of a contemporary autumn line. So there's some of the colors. And I wanted to make a fall quilt. So what I did is I picked up not fat quarters, these are the 5-inch charms of this line. And then I pulled or purchased different fabrics to go with this. And I will show you what I pulled. So this was right when Edita Sitar was just kind of hitting the scene, and I was really intrigued by her use of prints and batiks together. That's something that she's known for. So here is the fabrics that I pulled. That was one of the joys of working at a quilt shop. You have just a big palette of things. So here's the fabrics that I pulled. So several batiks through here, and then this was also part of that same line that I just showed you. So it has some berry colors, it has the rusty pumpkin-y oranges, it has some blacks, it has a lot of golds. Again, I don't know what pattern I'm going to use. I probably have enough here to make a quite large quilt. probably something that has a very simple pattern because the fabric is so busy, and I might need some more black just to kind of, bring these together because it's a lot of pattern. If you have a quilt pattern you think that would work well for, drop me a comment or message me on Instagram and let me know. I know I have several here that could probably work, but if you have an idea, let me know. Okay, so that's what was in that container. Many of these containers have more than one quilt. This one doesn't because it's quite a large quilt. And let's see. I know I bought this one at Sew Expo one year, and it looks like, yeah, this was clear back in 2004, so quite a while ago. The pattern, and it's a king size quilt. The pattern, again, this one does not do it justice. I'm almost positive you can still get this pattern. It's called Amber Rose Press is the designer, and it's from the Scrappy Apple Yard, and it's called Meet Me in Paris. And if I can find a picture of what this quilt looked like made, I will include it in here. So there's like little quarter Dresden plates in there. Now I saw this at the Quilt Expo, and it was made up in a fabric line that I think this is also Three Sisters, and it's called Portobello Market. So this is the line, and it's just stunning. The quilt was stunning. Now these colors are a little bit dated at this time. Like I said, this was back from 2004. I think I'm still going to make this quilt. And then here's all of the different fabrics that go with that. So it's these really pretty burgundies and roses, and then this beautiful, I would call this like a French blue. So as I said, it's quite a large quilt. It looks like I might have the backing for this as well. And and I even bought, I didn't realize I had these. These are pillowcases. So there's enough in here to make a single pillowcase if it's the same line. And these are made with the burrito folded pillowcase method, which is a really great way to make a quick pillowcase. And they come out beautifully with finished seams. So I also have charms and a jelly roll. I don't recall if it needs all this fabric. It's quite possible that it does. So it looks like it uses a lot of these pre-cuts to make it very scrappy. And all I can recall is that I bought it at the Sew Expo. Okay, so there's that one. And if any of these, if you have questions or you need help trying to locate them, feel free to reach out and I will try to assist as best as I can. The next one I have, there's some whips in here. I'm only going to show you the kits instead of the whips. This particular one, I might change my mind about making this. Let me kind of get to it. It came out of a book. I think I checked this book out from the library. And then I liked it so much I had to go buy it. And this is my working copy. And I'm trying to remember the name of the gal that designed this because I want to give credit. It doesn't say. So this is the name of the quilt. It's called Sunflowers. And I still think it's absolutely gorgeous. I will have to see if I can figure out who designed this, and I will put the name up here because I don't see it on my pattern here. And I think I still want to make the quilt, but the fabric that I pulled for this, I'm not really, it's not float my boat anymore. So the fabric I have pulled for this is, they're sunflower prints, and they're cute, but that's the deal. They're cute, and I'm not into this kind of cute anymore. And I'm pretty sure this is probably back from the early 2000s as well. So I may, that's kind of cool. I may do some stash unload with that for the sunflowers, but I think I might still make this with a little bit more contemporary fabric. So it's basically blacks and golds and greens, and it was really stunning. And I think she had another picture of this, or a smaller version of this, that she did as a tablecloth. That was really pretty. The next one I have is called Joyous Noel, and it does start with a panel, but I have the entire kit. And this panel, I've seen people selling this panel online, and it is highly sought after. So it's a Jacobian. It's by Lisa DeB Schiller. This is a Benartex. And this panel is hard to find, but it has a, you would call this like you do a medallion, or there's another name to do this. There's also part of the panel is this wavy border. And here's some more of the fabric. So there's more of the Jacobian. There's some blue in here that goes with it. So you use the border and the blue and then this panel, but I think that's for a smaller quilt. Oh, here's a little layout of the smaller quilt right here. But I have seen this panel used in larger quilts. And then I have, I'm pretty sure, oh, you know what? I'm pretty sure this was also pulled for the sunflower quilt. This is more contemporary. This is more of what I would probably use in the sunflower quilt. So maybe I'd already started pulling. So this next quilt quilt kit, I'm going to show you. Oh, I just love this quilt. The quilt is called Christmas in Italy, and I'm going to put a picture up here. And it was my first introduction to French general fabric. And so what I have in here is a lot of French general fabric, way more than what I need for the quilt. And I'm just going to show you what I have in here. So the picture that I showed you, and then picture it in this French general fabric line. So what I have is Rouen Du, so something 2. So it's this line, one of their older lines. I don't remember the year that this came out. Does it have a year on here? It does not. I'm just going to start pulling out the fabric. As I said, I have way more than what I need for the actual quilt. The quilt is not that big. It's more of a wall hanging than a quilt. And the beautiful reds from French General. As I said, this was when I fell in love with them. I don't remember that one. So this actually is a Meg Hockey, but I think I threw it in there because it was the right color. And this line, you'll recognize some of these. Some of them they've reissued in different lines. So here, but this was the line that it used. And I love these colors. I will probably hang it in the French General bedroom when I am done. And I will have lots of beautiful scraps left over from this quilt. And I believe this is one of their linens. And then this is a stack of neutrals. And I don't recall if this, no, this is not all French General. I think there is some other, but it's that perfect shade of, I call it with oyster is the color I would call that, in dark oyster. So this is for that quilt. I really do need to get started on that one. that one's going to take a while. So it has embroidery and piecing and applique, but it just enchanted me. That's the right word for this quilt. It enchanted me. Okay, I'm back. Took a little break there, got some lunch with my son, and he just finished up his last day of work at the Black Butte Ranch, and he's going to be heading home back to Washington tomorrow. So we got to spend a little bit of time together. He's working on packing, and I'm working on finishing up this video. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 containers left, and then some things that are up here. The next one that we're going to look at, this also came from the quilt shop in Ording, Washington, the one that's now gone, long gone, the Wild Rose. And it was a, one of the ladies that worked there designed this quilt. And it's called A Quilter Lives Here. And this was, of course, it caught my eye because it was made in all Kansas trebles. And it was like a block of the month. Came out in 2011. I don't remember the name of the lady who designed this, and I don't see it on here. I could probably look it up. I do know at one point in time I looked to see if it had been published, but I think it was only released through the shop. So here is a picture of the quilt. It's showing a little dark here, so it's kind of hard to tell. This was hanging up in their shop. And since this was released, many designers have released house quilts. But this was way back before I saw anybody else do houses. This was the first time I saw a house or a schoolhouse quilt done in something other than red and white. As I said, this was done in all Kansas trebles. It has 12 blocks, and then in each block there is a different block. In each house there's a different block. So unfortunately for you guys, this is not something you can find on the market, on the wider market, but you could probably find something very similar. So here's some of the fabrics that I got for making this quilt. If I remember correctly at the time, they just called for, a certain number of a certain color fabrics. They said, like 10 browns, 10 greens. I'm just making the numbers up. But basically, you went in and you picked out fat quarters of the colors that you liked. And I think this is for the border and some of the quilts and maybe the backing. I think this is the border and the backing. And then these are for more borders. And is this a French? Yeah, this is a French general. So I'm not sure if I got it because I think it went with the colors or if it just got stuck in this particular basket of fabric. It could be either or. So that was what, 12 or 13 years ago but the rest of this is all Kansas treble. Some of their prettiest fabrics. This is pretty high on my list of things to get to. I keep meaning to get it cut out. There's a lot of cutting for this, and it has pretty detailed cutting instructions. And I think the blocks, I'm trying to look here real quick. It's not a large quilt, it's actually a wall hanging. I'm just going to flash this real quick. So, yeah, you cut out 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 pieces from each fat quarter. And there's a lot of fat quarters. And then they recommend putting them in Ziploc bags for organization. So not necessarily the fastest or easiest quilt, but the results are just phenomenal. I don't remember exactly how big it is. It's smaller than a twin. It's more like a throw size. Really good size ball hanging. And looking forward to getting to that quilt eventually. I think this would be a great one to hang up off of the quilt shelf in the prim room. I think it would go great in the prim room. So that one is high on the list. The next one, this container has 3 quilts in here. And the first one is called Union Square. And this is by Eagle Nest Designs. The gal who designs under Eagle Nest lives in the Washington area. I don't know if she's still in the Olympia area, but she belonged to my quilt guild. And she's designed a lot of quilts. And this one is really, really pretty. And I kitted this up when I worked at the quilt shop at Ruby Street. So here is the light color background. And here is the red, and it's a 2-color quilt. And I think this is one of my favorites. Yeah, this is a Holly Taylor, and it's a mottled red. So it has not really a discernible print. It kind of looks like it would be a printed batik, but it's really pretty. So kind of picture how a lot of our hand-dyed linens look. This has the look of a hand-dyed red, very striking. So that's the colors for that. And this quilt is not real big. It's 40 by 40, so it would make a great wall hanging. It would be a great patriotic looking one. The next one, let me pull some things out of here. The next one is called Ginger Snaps. This was by Moda. And it's done with, there we go. It's done with Kansas Troubles, of course. And here's some of the colors. And then I have some, I don't remember, did it call for that? It must have. These are Kansas Trouble flannels. These are cottons. These are flannels. And then here's the second bunch that went with this quilt. And it's basically a snowball block. I don't know if you can see that. Pretty simple quilt. Should go together fairly quickly. It looks like I have an overabundance of fabric here because it calls for 17 different fat quarters, and I'm almost positive that these are half yards. So I should be able to make this quilt bigger than the 65 by 77. Not a whole lot bigger, maybe 1 row across and 1 row down, just so that it fits on a twin size bed. And this would look great in the prim room. The next one, and I have it printed out, so I must have gotten it from a magazine. This is summer 2006, and it looks, oh, it's from Designers Quarters magazine, which was a trade magazine. I don't know if it's still published or not, but I think I bought this at that same quilt store I told you that was in the Tacoma area, that was in an old church. And does it have a name on it? It doesn't have a name on it. But this is what the quilt looks like. And I remember seeing it hanging up in the shop, and it was so pretty. And, oh, here's the name. It's called Manchester Manor, which I think is named after the line of fabric. And let me pull it out here. So here is the fabric bundle. Some of it's kind of come undone. There's the floral. And then more in there. So this is a really pretty one. And I have all of this wonderful tape when I finally get these out. I love the twill tape that the different companies put on there. I like to use them on my project bags. I think they're really cute. The next one I'm going to show you is from one of the years when I belonged to a Thimbleberries block of the month. I think I did 2 years, maybe 3 years of Thimbleberries block of the month. This particular one is called The Lodge, and it's huge. I think it's a king size. Yeah, 94 by 114. And so there was a quilt shop that was about 20 or 25 minutes from me. It wasn't in Olympia. It was in one of the little towns outside of Olympia. And they ran the Thimbleberries Club. So this one's from 2008, so quite a while ago. This is the finished quilt. And Thimbleberries quilts definitely have their own style. This particular quilt you could either do in this colorway or this brighter bluer colorway, which is not me. This is more traditional Thimbleberries colorway, and Thimbleberries definitely has their own style. They were one of my favorite quilt companies, still are. I really like them. They're simple, they're easy to make, they're beautiful. For me, they're kind of timeless for the prim country type look. I'll just pull out some of the fabrics. So this is for the center medallion, where you're cutting out and appliquing this wreath that has the pine cones and just some greens. So every month you'd go in and you'd get some fabrics. We didn't sew there. You basically went in and the leader of the group would talk about whatever you were going to be piecing that month, and they give you tips and hints, and you would get something like this. Now the cool thing was every month you not only got the blocks and the fabric that you needed to make for that month, but it also came with recipes, and it also came with extra patterns and extra blocks, and so you can make other quilts from the leftovers of whatever you're making. So here is the container, a big container. Here's the fabric, and this just looks like a beautiful quilt to have on the bed for the Christmas holiday season and even beyond. I mean, this would be great for January and February when it's still very cold and snowy here in the mountains. This is the Lodge line, and I'll kind of see if I can kind of pan through that so you can kind of see those colors. So that's one of them. I have another one. I know I have at least one more here. I'm not sure where it's at. What I'm showing you today, I think, is the majority of my quilt kits. There's probably a few more rolling around here somewhere, but I've tried to consolidate all of them in my little sewing studio, but I know there's probably a few that are still packed away with all of the stuff that's packed away from my move. If you're new here, I moved the weekend that the pandemic quarantine started, and I wasn't completely moved. And then shortly thereafter, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I kind of lost a couple of years there, and truly I'm still unpacking things from my move. Okay, so here's the next one. So we'll look at that. Pause, please, and I'm going to bring them over here. Okay, the next one, also a Thimbleberries, and I don't recall if this was the year before or the year after. I think this was the year before, so this is probably 2007, might even be 2006. I don't see, well, actually I am incorrect. It is the year after, it's 2008. This one's called Three's Company. It is a sampler, and it came in 3 different colorways, and I chose the traditional. So there is what the quilt looked like, and it was the same thing every month. You got fabric and you got 1 or 2 of the blocks in the information. and recipes, etc. This is the small charm thing. I think that was one of the freebies. You always got a charm that had all of the colors. And these colors are very close to a lot of what you see Kim Deal. I think Kim Deal, her color sense is very much the way that Thimbleberries was at this time. Thimbleberries kind of went through a little bit of a change, but it's pretty recognizable as when you look at them. But here is the fabrics for this one. The main background is the cream that's on the bottom. I think well, I'll just do it here. I think the border for this quilt is actually this fabric right here. Really, really pretty. It has a lot of reds and golds and greens and a few blues. So like here's a red that's in here. And then that interesting color blue. And then this one's really pretty. I really love that color, that fabric right there, that colorway. So this one is also a very large quilt. It was a 12-month program, and it is 80 by 98. So bigger than a twin, not quite a queen. I guess it could be a queen if you didn't have, I like a long drop on my quilts. I like them to go down to just below the top of the box springs. Kind of like a regular bedspread. That's what I like. How I like my quilts, how big I like my quilts to be. The next one here has 3 quilts, at least 3 quilts. This one looks like it was something I picked up at Habitat. It has a sticker on it for $7. And it's a Connecting Threads. I think that's a company that's still in business that quilts or kits up things. And this is, it's called Camden House Table Topper. This is the table topper. And these are the fabrics that came with that. So browns and golds and greens, and pretty sure that, yeah, that's the back of that one. So again, that fits in with my color style. The green's a little limey green for me, but I think I can make it work. There's not a lot of it used. It's only used in the stems. So that was a find for $7. This is another quilt I really want to get to, and it's called Chocolate Decadence. I know I got this at Bayside Quilt Shop in Olympia. This was another Moda. Oh no, this came out of Fabric Trends, which again was a trade magazine. But it definitely is Moda, and I'm thinking that it's probably a Three Sisters line. So that's what the quilt looks like. It's one of those, when you piece it, particularly if you're piecing it scrappy, it looks a lot more complicated than it really is. And the line that it called for is also called Chocolate Decadence. And I think I took it, yeah. So here's the border. Here's the line. And then there's a few more colors in here that kind of escaped the bundle. And then I also have a piece of fabric in this line. There was a hexagon print that looks like, it looks like a hexagon quilt, but it's all printed, and it's using all of these fabric prints. Hold on, I'll find it and I'll show it to you. Alrighty, so much easier to show you than to try to describe it. But here is the backing fabric. So essentially when I'm done, you know, once it's quilted, unless you're looking at it close up, you really can't tell that it is printed that way instead of pieced. So when it's done, it will kind of have two quilts in one. So I think I'll just keep that with it so it doesn't get separated. This looks like it's from about 2007. I think the fabric line is probably from that time as well. So some of my quilts are in these Sterilite containers. These are not the shoe size. These are the next size up. I can't see. It doesn't say how many quarts this one. So some of these I have in these containers that are nice and deep, but they're not as big, like you can't put blocks in them. So they're great for kits, and they fit nicely in a cabinet that I have them in. And then the others I have in the square ones. The next one I have is called Slow Stroll and Color Patch Cascade Quilt. And this is the pattern. And the fabric that goes with it is also called Slow Stroll. And here's some of the fat quarters. I bought this as a kit at a local quilt shop here. It calls for a layer cake, which I have. And then it calls for the panels. So here's the layer cake. And kind of hard to showcase all of those, but you get the picture. This is the layer cake. These are extras that I bought because I want to make this bigger than the 44 by 56, which is a kind of a lap quilt size. I wanted to maybe expand it just a little bit. And then here is the panels. Now, this is only using 2 of the panels that you get when you buy a panel set. I don't have the other 2 panels. I just have the panels that it calls for. So there's this eggplant color, and then there's this cream color. And this is the same fabric that I've already made a quilt out of, but I really loved this. So I decided to make a second one out of the same fabric line. And that's that one. And this is probably, I think this is only last year. Yeah, 2022. So the designer is Stephanie Slawinski, and it's called Fancy That Design House and Company. So the pattern was designed, and the fabric it's all the same designer, and it's put out by Moda. The next one is a quilt that my friend Barb gave me leftovers of her quilt, and she pieced it. So if you go way back, I'm not sure which episode, I'll look it up and I'll put it down below. But there's a quilt. It's called Toil and Trouble. And I don't have a pattern cover that shows the quilt, so I'm going to find a copy of it and put it up here somewhere as I'm talking. But the fabric is just, it's so cute. So here's some of her leftovers of hers. This is not a colorway that I normally use, but the whole thing was just as adorable as it could be. There's some of the fabric line. There's little girls, and she's walking spiders. And then the quilt, of course, as you can see, hopefully, that I put up a copy of it, is it's a witch flying on her broom with little spiders. So there's a ton of little spiders in the fabric. And so she gave me her leftovers, and she let me borrow her pattern. And then I went and purchased the remaining fabric that she didn't have, or that she used all of, so that I can make this quilt. And I was still planning on making this for my granddaughter, but if she doesn't like it, I'll still keep it because it's just so darn cute. And let's see, the name of the designer, I don't know if it's here. Let's see. So here's yardage that I need for this. Hopefully there's a name. Yes. So it's produced by Clothworks, and the designer, or at least this is called Little Miss, and the designer is Megs and Me. Megs and Me. She has other designs that are similar to this. Some are Halloween, some are other seasons, or just cute stuff. Here's some more fabric that I got. And looking forward to making that. It's just as darling as it can be. A little bit out of my wheelhouse, but that's okay, because sometimes we just got to do that. And it's an applique quilt. So there's really not a whole lot of piecing on it. Mostly applique, and it's not like needle turn applique or anything. It's all fused, and then you just stitch around it. The next one I'm going to show you is by the same designer of Eagle Nest, the gal that used to be, or probably still is, part of our guild in Washington. And this is called Pumpkin Soup. And I bought this as a kit, and this kit was great because it came with everything, including thread. Here is the fabric, and the fabric was hand-picked, curated by the quilt shop. And it's, of course, in the rusts and browns. And see, here's the thread, and looks like a couple kinds of thread. And I am not sure what that's all about. Oh, you know what this is? These are tassels. These are tassels for the corn on the pattern. So literally came with everything. And it's definitely another one that I really have been wanting to get out. It doesn't look like a whole lot of piecing. The rest is just fused applique. So you've got, you know, a couple borders of flying geese that should go pretty quick. The rest is just tracing it out and fusing it on, and then just quilting it. So there's that one. And then the next one here is kitted up. It's to do a pattern, which I don't know where it's at because I was looking for it recently. I'll put a picture of it up here. It's called Corn Maze, and it's from the Country Sampler. And they did not have it kitted up last time I was there, but I noticed that they had the border fabric, and they had a lot of diamond textiles. So I kitted it up myself. So here's the border fabric for it. This is the diamond textile. Those are wovens, yarn dyes. This just happened to be, this is a flannel, and it's in the colorway. And I don't remember how much I bought of that. I wish I would have bought whatever they had left. I may have to call them up and see if they still have some. But I just went through and I picked out several fat quarters of diamond textiles. And then I also, because it was the same trip that we went to the woolen needle, I also picked up a bunch of cheddar and coal. Now this is the first line of cheddar and coal, not the recent one that I showed you earlier. And also the woolen needle, they call these cigars, but these are small scrap packs for people who like to do paper piecing. And I picked up 3. These are all cheddar and coal. 1, not cheddar and coal 2. And so I have plenty here to do the corn maze quilt, which, as I said, I'll put up in a picture because I can't find my pattern. And it's another one that I would really love to get going. It's fairly simple piecing. It's just, you know, cutting it out and getting it prepped, and then I'd be good to go. Okay, so that's everything in all of the containers. I'm going to do another little pause here and put these away so I can move around, and then I will pull the remaining ones that I have off the shelves here and we can look at those. All right, the next couple are from my Kansas Troubles collection. I'm going to try to tilt the camera up and over. So just right there, just above the thread rack, is a shelf where I have a lot of pre-cuts, jelly rolls, charm squares, fat quarter bundles. It's fairly deep, so they're stacked. They're too deep, so you don't see everything there. And then along with what you see right there is there's some bolts. A couple of bolts up there are Kansas trebles. And then these two kits I'm going to show you. The first one is called Hawthorne Ridge. It was a block of the month. And this was designed by Jan Paddock. You might be able to find this one in the secondary market, the pattern. It would work with any Kansas trebles line. The line that it was kitted with is this one right here. Oops, wrong one. It looks like, yeah, this is Hawthorne Ridge. And I think, oh, the line was actually called Hawthorne Ridge too. So this is all sealed up, and I don't really want to unseal it, but let me see if I can find an edge where maybe, oops, there we go. So blues, creams, reds. I really like, I'm not a blue person per se, but I really like Kansas treble blues. They're kind of a deep blue, kind of more of a brownie blue than anything. But this is a beautiful, beautiful quilt. I've seen this one made up. It's just gorgeous. So that is applique. This is applique in the traditional sense. This is not fused. This is either needle turned or whatever your favorite applique method is. That's not to say that you couldn't fuse it. It would probably be just as beautiful. The next kit that I have, this is also all bundled up, and I don't think I really want to unbundle it. And it's called Heart of the Home. And this is the quilt. This is the kit. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it has enough fabric in it to do not only the quilt, but the table runner and the pillow as well. And the line, the Kansas trebles line, is also called Heartfelt. So traditional Kansas treble colors, which I really love. For a long time, she was my absolute favorite. And then I expanded out to Joe Morton, and I have a lot of Jan Paddock. I have a lot of traditional reproduction prints. I have some Judy Rothamel. I have, so, you know, kind of the mid 1800s through the Civil War, etc. Okay, so those are from Kansas Trebles, and I'm going to put these away and kind of point you a little bit further that direction. I'm going to tilt you again just a little bit further. So if you look in the middle on the second shelf, that is a stash of vintage Blackbird design fabric. And in that little cubby, I also have some kits. I think I might have shown this one before. This is a table runner. It's called Meadow by Blackbird Designs. This is out of print, hard to find. I'm not sure that you could find this even on the secondary market. It wasn't widely distributed, but it's possible you can. So, and then I know that it has, so this has an M in it, which of course works for me, but I believe that the pattern has all of the letters in it, so you could customize it. And this was used, I'm trying to think of what the fabric line was called. I don't know that it says. Oh, it's called Meadow. And it was distributed by Moda. The other kit that I have that came pre-kitted is from the Wild Orchid line. And if you look at it, you're going to recognize that this was kitted for the Raven quilt. And that's what this says. This is the kit for the Raven quilt. Again, you're not going to necessarily find this kit at all. You can. The book was reprinted a couple of years ago, I think, and you can do it in these colors from any line. In fact, I think a Pam Buddha would look beautiful in this line. This one has some lavenders in it, or some dark plums and purples, which is not normally my color line, but it definitely works for this. So Pam Buddha would be really good. You could probably find a Joe Morton line that would work, but I think Pam Buddha's would be great. In fact, she just came out with, or she's coming out with a new line. I'm looking around here because I have, what did I do with them? Oh, there it is. I'm not going to walk over there and get it, but you can look up butternut and peppercorn. So that line came out a couple of years ago, maybe last year, and then she's coming out again really soon with butternut and peppercorn 2. And they're browns and golds and tans and blacks, and it would be really beautiful. And then I also saw, I think several people posted it, and I think one of our stitchers of our stitching community has made it, but they shrunk the design 75%. They didn't shrink it 75%. They shrunk it to 75% of the original design, and they did it in wools, and it was very, very pretty, stunning. So that's some Blackbird. I'm going to put these away and be right back with some French General. If I didn't mention it, I'm going to tilt this up again. The bolts above the middle there, that's actually a combination of vintage Blackbird designs, some laundry basket quilts, and I think there's one bolt in there of a Kim Deal. I had this with my Blackbird designs because I just think it goes together. And this is a combination of wool and cloth, and this is a Maggie Bonomi kit that I have. There was 2 of them that I really wanted to buy. I bought this at Country Sampler, or no, I bought this at the Woolen Needle, but this is all kitted up. A really beautiful Maggie Bonomi. All right, to the French General, which is in the middle section on the bottom there. I have several fat quarter bundles, a lot of fat quarters, and some loose yardage. There's a lot of vintage French General there. There's scraps because I like to keep my scraps of the lines that I like a lot together so that when I do a scrappy quilt that I don't have to think too hard. And then I have a couple of kits here. So these kits are intended to go into the French General bedroom, the French General / Blackbird design bedroom. And let's see, can I get this out of here? Yes. So one of the kits, this came out last year. I think it came out last year. So I have the kit for La Tuileries, 81 by 81. So I may add a border on this so that it can be just slightly larger for a twin bed. And it is kitted up in Bonheur de Jour collection. And I don't want to take it out because it might be hard to get back in. But here is the kit, the collection. So the traditional reds and creams and taupes of French General. And then this one has just this hint of what they call seal blue. So there's that kit. That's for one of the 3 beds in the French General room. I'm not going to pull out the fat quarters bundles, but they would be lines that would have been released recently, like in the last couple of years. If you're hearing a meow, my kitty thinks she needs to be in here with me. She doesn't like to be left alone. So I'm going to do that one, and I think I'm going to do a Swoon 16 also for one of the other beds with one of the other fat quarter bundles. So I have that kitted. I also have the fabric to do this. Again, I'm not going to pull it out, but this was designed to go with a Blackbird design sampler, and this was distributed or is distributed by Country Sampler. And this goes with the sampler, which name I can't recall. It was one of the designs that was released. I think it was released last January in one of the clubs. This matched what was coming out in the club. If I think of the name of the chart because it was designed to go with the chart. I will put it down below here if I can figure it out. The other one that I would probably do, like I said, there are 3 beds, is also from the pattern basket. I showed you a pattern earlier from the pattern basket, and this is called Confetti Cake. And this uses a layer cake. And I would probably use a fat quarter bundle so I can make it larger. But these are quite pretty. They go really fast. So I think that would be a great way for me to pull a lot of French General into the room without a lot of piecing. This one, the one I showed you first, that's going to take some time. That's some significant piecing, small piecing. This should go quite a bit faster. And this is probably somewhere in the middle. So there was a French General swoon quilt kit that came out. I did not buy the kit. I bought a line that I wanted to use, and then I just bought the pattern. So I will have to figure it out myself. So that's the French General. And I'm looking, I think we're there. I think that's it. There was one more that I have kitted up that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to pause real quick here and grab that fabric and talk about that. Earlier, I showed you the quilt that I talked about last video, where I wanted to use this pumpkin toile and do the striped border on 2 sides for a quilted table topper for my dining room table. And I mentioned earlier that I was thinking about making it double-sided. So I like to collect dishes. I don't know how many sets I have. I have some pieces of the Friendly Village, enough to do, you know, a sit-down dinner for, I think, 4 or 6 during the holidays. And then I have some odds and ends of other pieces. And then I have 2 Johnson Brothers, which is the England company that did Friendly Village. And if you're not familiar with Friendly Village, I'll throw a picture up here of the Friendly Village. I love green and or brown transferware. And there is a set of dishes that I saw once at an antique mall in Centralia, and I looked at it and it's like, I don't need another set of dishes. And I thought about it all the way home, and I went back the next day. I had thought about it enough. It's like, yeah, I really, really do want it, and it had sold. And as Lisa said, it's the one that got away. And I will show you a picture of that here. It is probably from between the 50s and the 60s. It's Johnson Brothers Windsor Ware collection, and it's called Harvest or Harvest Fruit. Now, they've done a couple of different variations that were even released at the same time or close to that one, but this particular one is really hard to find. When you do find it, it's super expensive. But first of all, I love the picture of the fruit in the middle. It's very traditional. It just, it just grabs me right here. But I also love the brown transferware, and I love brown transferware just by itself. I think it is so beautiful, and a lot of original traditional brown transferware came from England. So I'm making a long story longer. Anyway, we talked about panels, and I was out shopping a couple of years ago, and I came across this panel with turkeys. Now, Johnson Brothers also has a pattern very similar to Friendly Village that's called His Majesty, and you're probably familiar with the turkey platters, etc. And if you're not, I'll put a picture up here. Now, that particular set goes very well with the Friendly Village. You can mix and match them, and they look fantastic together. But when I saw this, I was reminded of the brown transferware. In addition to that, several years ago, and I think this is still fairly readily available, this is from Winden Fabrics, and it is called Williamsburg, and I have several yards of this. And the reason I have several yards is because to me it looks like and reminds me of the brown transferware. So what I was thinking is where I would have the toile and the stripes on one side, on the other side I would have this as the main fabric, and I would use this fabric here, just this traditional brown, as the border. And then my intent was to make like a large platter size placemat out of these turkeys here to put my dinnerware on. Alternatively, so all I have is this panel, but there's quite a few. Alternatively, I could probably piece something and maybe make placemats. I really haven't decided how I'm going to use the turkeys, but I'm kind of leaning towards cutting out a couple rows and maybe surrounding it with the brown transferware looking fabric and making it kind of something that would outline the platter. So that's my other thought, to make that reversible. Now, the reason I would go to that effort is then I have 2 tabletopper quilts that would only take up 1 tabletopper size in my storage. But I don't have to do that, and it would be some effort to make those line up. So I haven't decided. Regardless whether I'm going to put it one side or the other, I am going to make this. I don't know that I'll get to it this year, even though it would go pretty quickly, but I would like to do that. So that's what I have today. I have absolutely no idea how long this video is. I think it's probably a good length. I hope you saw something today that inspired you to quilt some more or piece some more. If you're not quilt already, I hope there was something that inspired you to start, because it's just as fun, just as satisfying, just as everything as any of the other needle arts that you may currently do. So if you're a cross stitcher and you watch this, thanks for sticking around. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you all again soon. I have some people coming to visit me in the coming week, and I'm really looking forward to their visit, and do some stitching and get back into the groove of things. My boy is going to be gone, so I'll have more time on my hands than I have been, and that'll be a great way to fill it, so I'm not missing him so much. So have a great one. Happy fall. Do all the pumpkin thing. Pumpkin's my thing, always has been. Pumpkins and sunflowers and bees. So till then, take care. Happy stitching, happy quilting, happy. Bye-bye.